Hello, welcome to this video showcasing ACAN UK's Discord server. I'm going to try and keep it as brief as possible, but give you an overview of the server, how we're using it, and how you can get involved. So when you first join Discord or sign up to our server, you should land at this welcome page. It gives a bit of an overview of how the space works with some tips as well as community guidelines. So I suggest everyone take some time just to give those a once over, to kind of settle into the culture that we're creating on this server. There's also a note about notifications. It's really important, and I will be coming back to this a bit later in this video. So yeah, this is where you land. We've moved over from WhatsApp because a couple of reasons. We hit the capacity of our WhatsApp community, so we were no longer able to get new people involved, both for the community as a whole and individual conversations. Plus, because of WhatsApp's function of having like a single continuous chat, I think a lot of people were disengaging and a lot of organizing chat was getting lost. So we were finding that the attendance for thematic group meetings was getting less and less because announcements and information about those was getting lost in the mix of other really important conversations. And Discord, as you can see, it allows us to separate out a lot more of our discussions, which I think when you first land, there is a chance that could be overwhelming. But the good thing about Discord is that you have a kind of granular control about what you see, what you're notified about, to kind of basically minimize how overwhelming it possibly could be. So this is on desktop how Discord might look. I've made my text a bit bigger, so your text might be a little bit smaller. You've got a sidebar here, and this is how you navigate. At the top, you've got server guide. So again, there's the welcome and rules that you've just seen, as well as information about becoming a member. If you're not a member, you are welcomed and encouraged to consider joining. You also have events, and here we're going to post either one-off events or recurring meetings for thematic groups. So these are a great way to kind of see what's happening. At the minute, we've just got a couple of things up there, but that will be populated more and more and more as we move forward. I don't know if I said previously, but when you first join this server, you'll be taken through an onboarding process. This is a little preview of that onboarding. So you'll be asked which thematic groups are you interested in or involved in. I've chosen circular economy, education, climate justice, amongst others. And this basically means that when you select those, they will populate your sidebar. Mine shows them all because I've turned on a setting because I've kind of got like an admin view active at the moment. The second question is whether you're interested or involved in any of these working groups. So that includes video editors. If you have some video editing skills, you're kind of encouraged to maybe join that one to do occasional little editing tasks. And we also have some campaigns like the Demo Atlas and the Less Carbon, More Truth campaigns. So clicking these will then populate the sidebar. And finally, you're asked if you're a member or part of StuCan. If yes, that means that you'll get access to the StuCan space. Once you've kind of gone through this process, it's not set in stone, so you can go back and change things. And then this tab here where it says browse channels is also just a way of seeing like all of the channels that you've got access to. So you can see on the left here on the sidebar the different categories. So you'll have an information category. So for you, that probably will show welcome and rules, this ACAN announcements, and probably how to Discord. Maybe not though. The main category that you're probably going to want to spend some time looking at are the thematic groups. So the first channel here is the thematic group highlights. This is where we're going to post announcements for upcoming meetings or kind of information that needs to be shared more broadly than a single thematic group. But here you've got all of the thematic groups, circular economy through to urbanism, and they are kind of like a forum. So each of those, I'll open one, for example, natural materials. So natural materials, they have kind of individual posts, and those posts are kind of categories or conversation topics. So each of the thematic groups has a group chat, and that's pinned. So that's right at the top, and this is really for all conversations related to that group. If in doubt, that's a really good place to start. A really nice thing with Discord is that it shows you what you've missed since you were last on the server. So here you'll see I've got 7 new messages since I was last looking at this page. And what's even more powerful is that you're able to see the history of all chats. So on WhatsApp, for example, you would only see the history from the moment that you joined a particular conversation. On Discord, you can go back and look at other at all the previous messages, basically. So there's kind of an archive of existing information. At the moment, we've limited so that only coordinators are making new posts to try and kind of categorize and keep things organized. So, for example, Ecology, they've done a really nice job of kind of putting individual chats. One is their group chat, like everyone. Then they have a place for sharing resources, a place to introduce yourself. This might change in the future as people get a bit more comfortable with Discord. We might make it so that everyone can post individually. But for now, we thought it kept things a little bit less overwhelming if there wasn't too many posts pinging in at all times. So the next category that you might see would be the ACAN space, which is populated by a few ACAN chats. And then there's a regional group space at the moment that just covers the Scottish region. And then finally, you'll probably see working groups. So this was some of the campaigns that I mentioned previously. So your left-hand sidebar is how you navigate the server. If you want to access the settings for yourself and for the server, it's at the top here where it says ACAN UK. On the drop-down, you've got server settings here. If I open those, yours might not look as full as this, because I guess I've got like an admin level of access. The places that you're going to want to look, there's this option for edit per server profile. So if you are already an active Discord member and that you're part of servers maybe related to gaming, where maybe you're using like a username or a name that's doesn't reflect kind of the name you use professionally, then this editing your per server profile is a really useful thing to be able to do. So here you can basically set your name as it will appear on ACAN's server. So mine is set to Tom Parker and my role, international coordinator. You might want to add your affiliation if you're with a particular organization, or merely just the name that people can recognize you by. If, for example, you're active on Discord for its gaming functions, it might be a bit confusing to have a kind of gaming username on your ACAN profile. I think you can even, maybe you're not able to change your image per server unless you have this kind of paid for tier, but you are able to change your pronouns as well. So I wanted to show how to write a message on all of the chats. So here I've just opened up the natural materials group chat, and at the bottom you've got the field for writing your messages. So if I start writing, a couple of things that are useful to know: if you write the @ symbol, you're able to tag people. um, which is useful if you want to call back to a previous conversation. Similarly, the hashtag function, so the hash key, means that you're able to tag channels. This is useful if you're trying to direct someone to a different conversation, or if someone is interested in a particular thing but hasn't been able to find it yet. It's a good kind of directory function. We're able to add files and images similar to WhatsApp, and you're also, I think you should be able to make polls. I think everyone has that ability. We also have a fun thing, which is we have some ACAN specific emojis, so feel free to use them and React, as well as all of the standard emojis that you would expect. You can reply to particular posts and messages just as you can with WhatsApp, and you're able to forward things as well. Okay, so now the part that's probably the most important for personalizing how your experience of this server, and that's notifications. So if you click again at ACAN UK and then notification settings, this will bring up your kind of high level notification options. So to give an illustration, the way that WhatsApp does it notifications is that by default you're notified. So if you join a community with conversations, whenever someone posts, you will get a notification. With Discord, it's the opposite rationale. So by default, you will only be notified when you're mentioned. So at your name is tagged. And the reason for this is that you within the server, there's kind of a lot of conversations are happening, whether it's StuCan, ecology, existing buildings, and there's even sub chats within those different channels. So being notified about everything would be quite overwhelming. This, however, means that you've got like a granular control of what you are notified about. So even though initially everything is set to only mention, what we would suggest is that you turn on notifications, if that's something you want to do, for the channels and the areas that you are most engaged with. So for example, I find the natural materials chats really, really useful. So if I right click on natural materials in my sidebar, go to notification settings, you'll see that that's been set to all messages. So I get a notification, whenever someone posts on the natural materials chats. By default, it will be set to only at mentions. So another place that I want to know about, and I recommend that most people turn this on, is that for the thematic group highlights, notification settings, and turn that one on to all messages. But what we do suggest is that you do spend some time turning on notifications. Another place that you can access notification settings when you're on desktop is on this top right corner. You'll see there's a little bell sign, and here you can change the setting for a particular chat. There's also this pinned messages function, which is a way of kind of saving previous messages for everyone. So I think mostly the coordinators will be pinning important messages that you might want to access later. So that is more or less our server. As you can see on your left hand side, you'll be shown when you've got unread messages, or sometimes individual chats are highlighted if it's something that you've signed up to get notifications about. What I would say is, if you're new to Discord, to click around, post as you would on a WhatsApp chat, use some of the introduce yourself chats to say hello, and try and get comfortable with this new structure that we're using. We will be asking for feedback, and this kind of structure and approach is not set in stone. We really want to be kind of responsive and flexible to the needs of the community, and to be able to have an active online space that fits the needs of ACAN and its organising endeavours. So, just to finish is to say there is this How to Discord channel, and there's some tips here, some little videos about how to adjust your notification settings. It's also a good place if you do have questions, if you come across something that doesn't make sense or that you think is not right, you can post here, and it's a great way for other people then to also get the same answer to an issue that you might be having. And that's it. Like I said, have a click around, and feedback is always welcome.